Hello, Anarchy fans, and welcome to my brand new podcast, Anarchy Interviews, where I, Prismatic, interview Anarchy players who are famous and/or respected in their respective communities. Today, I'll be interviewing a player by the name of DigitalBlaze from the server known as AVAS.cc. So, yeah, you have anything to say, Digi?
Not much.
Alright. Uh, so would you mind giving the audience a brief overview of who you are?
Yeah, so basically I was an early P3 player. Basically, AVAS is divided into three sections, P1, P2, and P3. They were all different maps. And it's because the mod that the server owner made, Dutch, well, every major patch he did off the his own plugin, reset the map. So I was P3 and that's the latest map. And I joined very late 2020, I think it was December 20th, I joined. And ever since then, I've done some pretty good, achievements and shit. Like 11th ranked on playtime. All of that is actual playtime and not AFK because I'm not a pussy. Um, but yeah, that's about it.
Hmm. Why did you start playing Anarchy?
Now, so I got my PC around that time. Um, And I was just looking, and I enjoyed Minecraft, but it's too vanilla, and it's sort of the thing with vanilla Minecraft is that it is aimed at a younger audience. So just looking around, I obviously see the likes of I knew the likes of 2B, 2T and shit, but I wanted a quick start and quite a small friendly community. So I saw Ravas and I thought, well, you know, let's
Alright,
let's give it a
alright.
try. And 2 years later.
So you mentioned how you discovered Anarchy. Would you mind elaborating more on that?
Yeah. So what specifically Ravas or?
Like just Anarchy in general. How'd you like discover it?
Yeah, no, I was basically just going through Minecraft server lists, and I saw Avas, and well, I saw a few others, but they were like they weren't real Anarchy servers. They were a lot more no hacking because of the hardware that the servers were being run on. But then I saw Avas because obviously of the vote dude system with it being bumped up the lists of like the two major server list websites, and I thought, okay, well, let's give it a try. And like I said, 2 years later.
Mm-hmm. No, so I saw your post in the Avast Discord just yesterday about how you hopped on for a quick session. What inclined you to do that?
Oh no, I was chilling. I was obviously, away from college, and I thought, all right, well, how about we hop on Alice? Because I'm still in contact with a lot of the community, just I don't
Mhm.
really play. So I hopped on and Mayor, the current runner of Avas and main admin, gave me a tour of his base, which I'm a member of, and yeah, it was pretty cool. Pretty. I just made a
Nice, nice.
little hut before I left.
Do you have any like notable accomplishments on a boss or?
Oh man, you're asking me. I own the biggest base on the server with the biggest stash. I had probably one of the most successful kit selling groups on Avast. Plus, I ran a pretty successful griefing thing. I've made a plethora of maps. The biggest being, I think, 4x2. I think. People help me with that, well, obviously, but and Alice is this thing called well, I don't know if I can say this, but I don't really care. Lag fag, and it's basically
Mm-hmm.
where you lag the server, then you get punished by movement limits, and it's basically makes the server unplayable. I crashed the server with carpet dupers. Don't ask. Hundreds and hundreds of carpet dupers, and obviously I got lag fact. I was the only person to ever get on lag fact in the entire history of the server. Well, for after actually lagging the server. So
Well, that's interesting. So,
yeah,
so you mentioned that you ran a pretty successful griefing group, right?
yeah. Well, there was same group under the and at different sort of wings. So it's good. Obviously, DigiCorp. Most
Mhm.
people on the server, older players, have at least heard of it. We were a pretty passive group. That we weren't the greatest, I wouldn't say. I mean, I was part of what I would deem the greatest to be Iron Kingdom, which I
Mhm.
then went on to own. But you know, I was part of DigiCorp, the founder. We duped a lot. We had a pretty big stash of our own, and I probably made about 200 from the server selling kits.
Mhm.
So well, it went quite well, and obviously, well, griefing. I griefed a fair amount of bases and notable players like Nasha, yourself actually,
Yeah.
and I grief. Oh, that's too many. A lot of new bases as well. They were still quite big to be fair. But,
How now? You mentioned that you griefed me, and that you would be correct, right? So,
yeah,
how does
you,
it feel
so
knowing that, despite the fact that you griefed us, we somehow persevered and became one of the biggest and most active groups on the server?
the way it makes me feel is so lucky I don't come back and play. No, I think you're doing quite well.
Yeah.
Um, you just something I think you need to expand upon is your links across the server. You seem to be quite, exclusive. The way I, got well, it's millions of items, dude, was by expanding my links. I was friends with the original owner of Iron Kingdom, and I got invited and I owned it. You know, I was friends with all the admins, or friendly with them at least.
Mhm.
And I just always tried to expand my, I was just a pretty chill player, and I didn't really care about griefing. It was just fun to do with, I'm cool with friends.
Hmm. Since we're still on the topic of griefing, what would you say is your most successful grief on the server?
My success, it's definitely not your little other
Yeah,
base.
definitely not. No.
But Nash, I had quite a big base. It was full islands and some massive tower, and I got a member of ours called Four Troll got the chords, and me and him have had some problems before, but what we resolved them. He gave me some coordinates, and I went over to the base and blew it up. He wasn't very happy with me, and we've not been on good terms ever since.
Hmm. So now, ooh, hold on. So you mentioned that. Okay, hold on. Wait. What was your most successful grief? Like just again, please.
I'm Nash's spaceman.
Yeah. How does it feel knowing that he also uh, persevered and became one of the more powerful players on the server as of today?
He was. He's still no. He's not. Still not fucking powerful.
Eh.
Where I've been. I joined the same time around. As him, but I think he's a cool guy. He's done a lot on the server, but at the end of the day, I mean, especially on AVAS, you can't really become powerful. It's a small little community. You've got to treat it like that, Nice server, and to be fair, the way you play AVAS, especially the way I did before someone of the base of Iron Kingdom leaked the coordinates, it was basically just a single player or a multiplayer Wild Gods friends, because of the size of the server, and how it's sort of fallen off recently, which is quite sad.
Yeah. How long do you think Avas has left as a server?
To be fair, I don't know if it will get past next summer. Especially since Dutch and 6ix9ine have taken a break from it. Mayor's doing a good job, but it doesn't, especially, I mean, Easter, we didn't, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we did an event. I know for April Fools we didn't. And I mean, it sort of showed when probably about 2 months after Halloween, people were still getting a happy Halloween message. I feel like Mayor's a great guy. He's doing the best he can, but the Prime Avas is never going to come back. One, because of the players leaving, and I mean, I say Prime Avas, but that's just subjective. It's my opinion. To be fair, I think the community now it may be is better than it's ever been. I just wouldn't know because I don't interact with that side of the
Hmm.
community. But I don't know. I really don't think it's got much left, unless a wave of new people comes, and that could come from this podcast. You never know. But,
Yeah. Hmm. besides yourself, who would you say would be the one player on the server that you look up the most to? Whenever you
He
play.
doesn't play anymore, and he was very controversial, and I'm not going to get into that because it's his business. But Nos Ravagini, he was
Yep.
definitely the most. He was the best player on that server. I mean, I've stayed in contact with him for a while. We don't talk much now, but no, he created Iron Kingdom. To be fair, Robbie as well. Robbie and Tim. It's between those three. They are very, very notable players in their own right. I mean, Tim's fixed the server up a couple of times, and obviously, I mean, we're excluding admins, but you know, that it would probably have to come down between Nos or Tim, to be fair.
Honestly, I would agree. Nas is a very notable player and probably one of the most powerful to ever touch the server. And now, how do you feel about the griefing of Iron Kingdom, in which I will name drop the players Evil1, Squid, and Synthwave Bro, now known as 44th President?
It's hard. I wasn't too upset by it, mainly because by the time it was griefed, I wasn't a massive player. I've got my own little stash, and you know, it's filled. It's beautiful. It's built around the Swedish. It is really a mix between Oxford's Blackwell's library and the Swedish National Library, and it's a nice. If you find it, I'll be very surprised. But it's a nice little stash that I'm still filling when I've got free time. But yeah, look, I kind of went off topic. Iron Kingdom, it never felt like my base, even though it was technically my base because I didn't build a lot of it. But I mean, I would never consider, in the sentimental sense, Iron Kingdom to be my base. It was Nos's base, and that'll never change. But yeah, no, I'm not angry about it. It's what happens on Anarchy. You got to suck it up, otherwise you're just a massive pussy.
Yep. I personally got to visit the ruins of Iron Kingdom because I had to get B-roll of it, right? So it's quite a sight. Now, there was still some stasis pearls there, and that I find very interesting. Do you have any comments on that?
Well, yeah, funny story. There was a time where all of my stasis has got destroyed or despawned, and I had to travel back to Iron Kingdom. And as I went there, I set a pearl, and I forgot to turn. I recently installed Russia Hack, and I forgot to turn on NoFall. So I jumped down and I died, but it was still in render distance of my pearl.
Ooh.
So that meant the pearl despawned, and I had to travel. Well, there's no point in hiding at the extra, like, what was it? There's around 4 million blocks. Get to Iron Kingdom. But yeah, no, that was crazy. Good memories. But yeah, I would like to know who's there, and if one of them was mine, I would like to, leave my account now. Maybe build myself a little house and kind of just leave my account to rest. I don't see myself making a big comeback to others.
From what I remember, there was one of Nas's pearls. Condi had a pearl there, surprisingly.
Yeah.
And let's see.
There's a lot of controversy around Condi, and I'd rather not get into it.
Yeah, neither would I. I'd prefer to stay away from the Condi controversy. However, I would like to comment. I do speak to her sometimes. She's a really chill person outside of AVAS. But what she did was pretty fucked up, in my opinion.
Well, I'd rather leave that. That's my friend's personal business.
Yeah.
And Condi I was quite close with as well. So not as close with others, but
So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. You mentioned that you duped a lot, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you were around at the time, but earlier this year there was a dupe discovered where if you opened a shulker and there was something in the very bottom
Yeah,
right,
the Shulker dupe.
yeah, it's a new shulker dupe, but that got patched. So do you have any comments
I
on
don't.
that and like how like broken it was or?
I mean, if it was just the bottom right item, it really wasn't that broken. And to be fair, I even if a bigger and this again is sort of sidetracking, but even if a bigger stash than Iron Kingdom gets made, um, it will never be known as the the most notable stash. I mean, I was part of the top three biggest bases that's ever been on the server at
Mhm.
that time. I made the second, and I was part of the third and what first. Being map called space, my own base, which you may have visited. No, I remember who did that. Stole all my resources. But one of the people who actually made the second biggest base in the audience right now. And map called space was also something. There was so many maps, and obviously Sir Nakey
Mhm.
invited me. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's just quite
So now
interesting.
that I've brought up that dupe, I'm also gonna backtrack a little more. What do you think made DigiCorp one of the more successful groups on the server?
um, my ridiculous amount of hours on hours. No. To be fair, I mean, all of the people who ran it were quite intelligent. Um, I mean, I don't never claim to be some sort of child prodigy, but I do quite well in college and stuff. And you know, I feel like we had a determination. We always had a goal to do. The shulker selling was more of just a scummy thing I did because I wanted to buy Russia hack for my old account.
Hmm.
Um, and I didn't want to use a cracked version. But yeah, no, I do feel like DigiCorp was a lot more successful than many other groups ever will be, and it was partly because like I said, I was always trying to mingle with the community and try and expand who almost how many bases were a safe haven
Hmm.
um, to go to and stuff. And it got to the point where I was invited to nearly every single major player's base, so that was quite interesting.
So, on the topic of groups, do you have any advice for new players that are trying to start a group, or players
But
who
like,
have been on the server for quite a while and who just want to start a group?
um, don't no, don't think you're gonna run the server. You're never gonna run the server because of how small the community is. Um, and just I mean go for it. You always have a goal and try and focus on base building and just having fun. It's not like a 2B2T, a big 2B2T clone or 2B2T itself, where you're always constantly trying to pillage and fight others. It's on AVAS it's a lot more of a chilled experience unless the server count grows exponentially. But
Mm.
yeah, just sort of chill out and almost make it an informal thing with your friends. Really, that's what I did, and it turned out quite well for me. So
Hmm. See, you're known on AVAS, right?
um, I'm quite known, but I wouldn't say the newer community knows me,
Yeah.
even though I manage the wiki.
Hmm. So, since you're known on AVAS, have you touched any other Anarchy servers such as like 2B2T, Constantium, any of the 2B
I've,
knockoffs?
well, I've never really looked into getting invited, whitelisted to Constantium.
Oh,
Um,
Constantium is no longer whitelisted, actually. I was
oh, is
just
it?
playing the other week.
Oh, that's interesting. But anyway, I know 2B I touched on. I made a little base, but my Prime 2B membership ran out, and I thought, well, I'd much rather get some streaming subscriptions or whatever, and just chill out in my bed than slave away on another Anarchy server.
Hmm. So, you mentioned that the Digicorp sold kits as well, right?
Yeah, for a brief time.
Do you mind like elaborating on like what kinds of kits you guys sold?
Basically anything. We had griefing kits made by me. We had redstone kits also made by me from scratch. PvP kits were really repurposed Iron Kingdom kits. And certain resource materials, because I was one of the first people to know about the original Shulkadoop. It was quite a big secret on the server for a while until it all came out when someone, I think, posted the jar file for the automation of the dupe. So, but yeah, that's sort of what we did.
So, now that you mentioned another dupe, right? I'd like to get your opinion on what Mayor said about potentially unpatching Anvil dupe on the server.
I don't know. I mean, a part of the reason why I think that would be a problem is what that's failing to account for is the fact that the only way AVAS is going to grow is through /vote, because I mean, logically, if everyone /voted, then the server could only grow. But obviously that all depends on Anarchy's growth as a whole, which seems to be slumping. But yeah, I feel like unpatching a dupe could be a problem due to the fact that a lot of /vote wouldn't be needed. I mean, I would love it. I would spend hours building the next biggest stash on the server. But yeah, I personally don't think it would be a good idea for business or the server.
Honestly, I would agree, but so since I am in one of the media people for AVAS.cc, right? I'm in the AVAS admin server, and we had a discussion just the other week about potentially doing a double vote dupe token event where every time you vote you get another dupe, you get 2 dupe tokens instead of 1. How do you think that would benefit the server?
That would benefit the server purely because obviously that is then encouraging people to vote. But it's nothing new. It's been done before, and yeah, while it did increase player count, you've got to understand that an increase in player count means normally an increase in toxicity, which is when a server is small, and that way at least for Anarchy, which is when a server is small, it's not particularly good. I mean, I remember when AVAS I think it was last summer, had a very big surge, and I forget the group, but I kept on hopping on, and I probably destroyed about 8 nether hubs. Just to get on people's nerves. And then that eventually killed off the server for a bit.
Do you have any plans on returning to AVAS for an extended period of time in the near future?
If it grew, I think I would. But for now, I feel like there's nothing really for me there. Although I do enjoy speaking to the community, and I feel like Deep Dutch and 6ix9ine and Mayor and stuff are all great. I just don't really have that incentive to join purely because the original people who are were allied almost with don't play anymore, and I feel like the spark for AVAS for me has sort of gone, to be fair.
See, on the topic of growth and activity on the server, a lot of people have been coming to the server recently. I'd say the highest amount of new players I've seen in a day is about 15. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, well, compared to the last summer surge, that's not particularly much. I remember coming on and seeing 60 people, maybe more, on the server, and that was amazing. And it's also the fact that Dutch is very cleverly invested into a very high hardware for the server, which obviously means that if the server was to grow, there would be the hardware capable. But the only problem with that being that he's paying a lot of money for a server that could potentially die. And I personally wouldn't want to see it, but I can't really prevent that. Yeah.
So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit to the most successful grief question. This is a little offshoot of that one. What would you say is your most successful build on the server?
Build.
Like your biggest and nicest.
yeah, the second biggest base on the server. It was a massive, almost like Space Valkyrie 3, massive dome, and I had plans to build a massive city inside of it. I built the dome, but and Anarchy was involved as well, and so was 0_0f and a random bystander. If you, I highly doubt you know the name, but they're quite close friends of mine. And we built that, and it probably took around 10 hours to build in total. But then all of our resources got taken by a man grief of the time that I can't remember because he left. But yeah, after that, that's probably when I would say my motivation for AVAS started dropping.
So recently, there's been a new group who's touched the server. You may know them for Conflict. Their leader mentioned V3V to me. Do you have any comments on who he was?
Well, I very, very vaguely know him. I mean, he was quite kind to me in chat and stuff, and he was quite a cool guy. But I personally don't remember him. I mean, most of the people I remember are now on the AVAS wiki, and I can tell you a lot about most people on that wiki, but that hardly gets used anymore. But yeah, I'm not familiar with him too much myself.
So I'm also gonna backtrack once again. So back to the despite the fact that we like persevered, you griefing us. How does it make you feel that we are now the biggest and one of the more successful of the last year on the server?
I'm happy for you, man. I mean, someone had to fill the void after yeah, the older players started leaving, and I feel like you've done quite a good job of that. Even though I don't know particularly what your aim is on the server, and
Would you like me to explain our little aim?
Sure, man.
So Prism Inc., now known as Prism Group, right? Our main goal is really to just turn AVAS into a more inclusive and welcoming community rather than the toxic cesspool that it was last summer.
That's a shame. It was a very, very nice community before. But no, I do understand what you mean. I mean, there is a market for, especially people of minorities. I feel like there's a void for that, but I personally don't know. I don't know if I would fully back the cause, purely because I'm not a massive fan of change.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like you're. I mean, morally, it must be right. I'm just not very good at defining what is morally correct or not.
So this is going to continue a little train of questions that I've been asking. How does it feel to know that you are one of the most elite players of the time on AVAS?
I personally would not consider myself elite, but if people want to, you know, consider me as that, I would feel honoured. I mean, I'll keep on saying it's going to sound like I'm sucking their balls or something, but the admin team of Avast were, you know, from my experience with them, are great. And although I've had little jabs with them before, they are. I mean, I've based with the current. I based and base now with the current main admin, and 6ix9ine helped me code some plugins and stuff for others. But you know, I would be honoured to be considered elite, but I again wouldn't personally consider myself one.
Is there any reasons behind you not considering yourself one of the elites?
I don't know. I just feel like I haven't really done as much as previously mentioned. You know, Nostravagini and stuff like that. I feel like I'll never be above people like Robbie and Tim, and especially Nos. I mean, I'm very biased when it comes to Nos, so purely because he was a very close friend of mine. But I can see why some certain people didn't particularly like him.
So now on the topic of elites, is there anybody on the server that you would consider an elite that is currently active, like i.e.
Uh,
Squid
uh,
or Synthwave Bruh, as he recently came back?
Squid, yeah, I would consider purely because, you know, of the griefing history. I shan't get into that. But no, I'm very biased. I mean, I don't know with yourself what you have and haven't done on the server.
Yeah.
So I'm not really the person to talk. A better person would be, you know, probably someone like Squid, who plays a bit more actively and knows the server better than I do at its current state. But
Yeah, on the topic of that, Squid has mentioned to me before in some private conversations that I have kind of outdone her legacy by creating one of the largest and most active groups on the server. So,
well then, kudos to you, man. I wouldn't know. I like I said, I have no clue what Prism Inc. has done for the server. Um, Purely because DigiCorp was a pretty toxic group.
yeah.
So was Iron Kingdom, but you know, we weren't as bad as some others.
So now on to
We did help.
a pretty broad question. How many different hack clients did you go through before landing on your current one, which you mentioned was Rusher?
Yeah. Well, Earth hack, but I was very skeptical of that purely because of Phobos history. I coded my own hack client. That was quite good. Well, it wasn't amazing, obviously. I mean, it's nothing near Meteor, which I use for, you know, not often for more how would you call it? Smaller servers that I don't really care about. And obviously Russia. I mean, I would love to have Russia Plus one day. Um, but I feel like Russia is one of the best hack clients out there, if not the best. That is, you know, of a normal man's budget.
Mhm. So, I feel like we've gone on for quite a while on this interview. Is there anything else you would like to add before I do a little lecture for us?
Not really, man. I'm just, you know, I'm very surprised you chose me out of everyone. Like I said, I don't really consider myself elite. But I'm quite happy you do, and it seems like you're almost carrying on in my footsteps. So,
I mean, hey, it was kind of an honor to actually like talk to you because like you were the first ever person to grief me, and you were also one of the bigger players when I became more active on AVAS. So
you know, it's not that much of an honor. I'm always like, well, I'm often free. And like I said, I don't hold feelings, especially from a Minecraft server. Um, that's why I'm pretty chill with everyone. Even if people hate me on Avas, that's all good. I don't mind.
all right, well,
But,
yeah, I guess that concludes this episode. Interviewing Digital Blaze. So
thank you.
I guess if you wanna ever join in on some live recordings and listen in, the Discord will be linked in the description. And yeah, have a nice day.